Good morning. What an honor and a pleasure and a thrill to be here to help launch this amazing TEDx conference in our brand new Innovation Institute at Henry Ford Health System. It's people say to me all the time, how do you look so happy? Why are you smiling so much? Look at the job you've got and, all the problems in healthcare, and leaders all over the country are screwing up, and we can't get anyone to agree to anything in Washington. So when I thought about, the fun I get to have at work and the opportunity, the privilege it is to be a leader, particularly at the Henry Ford Health System, I thought, what idea am I going to share in this incredibly creative group of speakers today and our wonderful audience and tremendous people at Henry Ford? And I thought, well, I got to talk about leadership. I think there's something to talk about with leadership because, frankly, if we think about it, it's not going that well. And there's a need for some new ideas about how to lead organizations, how to create culture. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story in terms of how I got to the point that I have. But, my idea is that the essence of leadership is to create a great environment for people to reach their full potential. Different kind of idea, frankly. If you read most of the leadership textbooks, they talk about some of the heart and soul of leadership, but not enough. And they clearly don't talk about, how you develop a culture that really gets the best out of everyone. And when everyone is aligned and everyone is working on new ideas and creativity, my job is the easiest job ever. Because frankly, when you work with bright, wonderful, compassionate, caring, creative, talented, all the adjectives, you get to sit back and enjoy. And you help support, you do a lot of things that really make that happen, but frankly, you enjoy a lot. So this is really, I think, my job. When I think about the work that I do, and frankly, the work of our entire leadership team, and the leaders across the country, this is in essence what we should be doing. It's true if you're President of the United States. It's true if you're running an organization. It's true if you're managing a unit of people. And frankly, it's true if you're a parent. It really is the essence of what we need to be doing. So let's look at what kind of inspired me over the years. I was a product of the 60s. When I was 6 years old, my mother kept us home from school to watch the inaugural of John F. Kennedy. For me, as a 6-year-old, I thought that was the neatest thing ever. I didn't even know about an inauguration. But how wonderful to see this young man talk about the future of this country. And of course, this quote really describes, I think, what he was about. He was about empowering. He was about partnership. He was about creating a culture in America where we contribute to what this country can be. Isn't that something we need today as we think about it? I was also 9 years old when JFK died. And that had a profound impact on me because, how this person who I thought was just amazing died way, way, way too soon. And what would this world be like if we had all been empowered along the lines of the Peace Corps and many other initiatives that he created? What if we were all really contributing at that level? Then there's Bill Ford Jr. Bill Ford Jr. is an interesting guy. He happens to be the great-grandson of our founder, but more so, he made a decision, frankly, within the last few years that I don't think very many people would make. He basically fired himself from his job. He was the CEO and chairman of the Ford Motor Company and made a decision that he wasn't able to do it. He wasn't creating the culture that was needed to drive the performance of the organization. So he hired Alan Mulally, who, as we all know, has done an extraordinary job leading the Ford Motor Company as CEO over the last several years. How many people would do that? How many people would step down from things or change things so that, in fact, others can step up? That's empowerment. That's creating a culture where everyone feels they can help contribute. And again, if you see the culture of Ford today, the can-do spirit, it really is a wonderful inspiration, I think, to all of us in America to think about what we can do differently. This guy you probably don't know. This is a guy named Erie Chapman. Erie was my boss down in Columbus, Ohio, and he is a very unusual man. Erie started out as an attorney. He was assistant U.S. attorney in Toledo, Ohio. He then sort of serendipitously got a job as general counsel for a small hospital in Toledo. And then, unfortunately, the CEO died, and Erie became the CEO without really any knowledge of how to do that job. But he had incredible instincts, and he did an extraordinary job changing an organization. And his basic tenet was to take care of the people who take care of people. Well, I had the privilege of working with Erie for 8 years in Columbus, Ohio, when I ran Riverside Methodist Hospital there. And I had the weirdest job interview of my life with him. First of all, he kept me waiting for an hour and a half, which really ticked me off. Then I walked into his office. It looked like the President of the United States lived there. It had flags. It had a picture of Mother Teresa. It had a picture of Martin Luther King. It had a picture of Winston Churchill. And then my interview questions were, Nancy, what do you think of these pictures on the wall? You know, I looked at him. Then he had a wonderful watch that was a Mickey Mouse watch. Well, I looked at these pictures and I described how much I admired these individuals and what they meant to our world and our country. And then he asked about Mickey Mouse. I said, that's fun. That's fun. Fun should be at work. We should create an environment of fun. And then he asked me, he said, what would you do to fix health care in this country? I said, I'd give everyone a guide. Everyone who embarks in healthcare needs a guide because it's so darn hard to navigate through healthcare. Everyone would have a personal guide to help them with the right decision making, support them, support their families. That's what I would do. Then he said to me, Nancy, what would your mother say about you? I said, my mother would say she is so proud of me. He said, really? I said, yeah, you should call her. Well, he didn't call her, but he did go visit her before he hired me, which was an interesting thing. He was sort of the Woody Hayes of healthcare. He actually called my parents and went up to Akron, where I lived, and they lived, and went to see them. And you know what he did? He said, I'm going to offer your daughter a job working for me, and we're going to take care of her. Well, you can imagine. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes today, because my mom said, you should go work for that guy. But, you know, what a great idea. Because, you know, when you think about our work, you think about what leadership means, we're taking care of people every day. Most people spend more time in a workplace than they do on their own. And what a great idea to take care of the people, to take care of people. Well, this is another of my bosses. This is Al Gilbert, who used to run Summa Health System in Akron. For 25 years, he was CEO. And he took some real risks with me. I worked for him for 10 years. And he actually promoted me to be COO of a 650-bed hospital at the ripe old age of 28. And I didn't even understand why he did it. But one of the things that Al really did was teach me this. Listen to the problem employees. Because, you know, he always said, when they speak up, you listen. There's something there. Even if it's not exactly right, not totally accurate, there's something there. And what a great lesson. Because often people don't want to hear the negatives. They don't want to hear from the problem employees. But, you know, the passion that these individuals show is critical. So whenever I get emails from people complaining about stuff, it's like, I listen. And I reach out. And I invite them to come talk to me. Because that's what creates a culture where people will speak up, where they will commit, where they will be part of the empowerment of the organization. Now, who's this guy? Is he one of those troublemakers, as Madhu suggested? I don't think so. You know, when Scott joined the health system, and I had just become CEO, I had the opportunity to work with him. And frankly, he is one of those individuals that will tell you exactly what you need to hear and will innovate, as we can all attest to at Henry Ford, in ways that are quite unique. In fact, where he came from didn't always appreciate some of his innovation. The fact that he was going off to NASA and helping the space program, why wasn't he here working? That is work. That's creativity. That's helping us get better because of the learning that he has brought back to this organization every single day. But one of the things I love the most about Scott is the fact that, when I took over Henry Ford Hospital years ago, it was a pretty ugly place. No artwork anywhere, sterile, cold, not a place that was very welcoming to anyone, including the staff, including our patients, including their families. But Scott took me on a little field trip one day and took me over to Detroit Receiving Hospital with a wonderful woman named Mrs. Irene Walt. And we toured all the beautiful artwork that was at Detroit Receiving Hospital and came back and said, we're going to start a healing arts program at Henry Ford. Well, if you walk around our facilities today, you can see the results of that contribution, which again, I always describe Scott as a Renaissance surgeon. He's a Renaissance man because he has so many interests and so many ways that we can contribute. But we all do. We all do. That's what's cool about creating a culture of empowerment and innovation, is that we all have wonderful gifts we don't bring to work every day. I didn't start playing my violin again at work until I worked for Erie Chapman. Erie wrote music. He produced his own TV show called Life Choices. He wrote books. This was a guy that had amazing talent and wanted to bring it out in all of us. Well, that's what creates a culture. That's what the essence of having people reach their full potential means. That we don't just bring the specific job functions that we do every day at work. We bring who we are. We bring our talents and our gifts and our interests and our passion. That's what we bring every day. These are my parents. My father was an inventor, has 8 patents. He's still living, 89 years old, was a pioneer nuclear engineer. My mother was a teacher and also a fashion editor in New York City early in her career. They believed their 4 children could do anything. And especially with 3 daughters, they believed we could do anything. That's empowerment. That's the essence of leadership as a parent. Letting your children know that they can reach their full potential. They just have to work hard. They have to apply themselves. They have to take risks. Those are the things that we all can teach as leaders. So what do I mean by all this? What are some of the principles that I believe in? One is everyone counts. It's so wonderful when you work in an organization where you see how hard everyone works. It doesn't matter what job category you're in. And we like to sort of de-emphasize the levels, the hierarchy, that we all work together as a team. Because in fact, everyone counts. And I started at the bottom of the barrel, if you will. I was a minimum wage worker out of college in hospitals. Got great experience, learned from so many wonderful people who taught me so many life lessons that I still carry with me today. But everyone counts. When I was interviewed to be the CEO of Henry Ford, one of the interview questions was, Nancy, how do you work with those doctors? They're so difficult. They've got big egos. They think they know everything. And I looked at this gentleman and I said, I treat doctors just like housekeepers. Well, they looked at me. What? And I said, with great dignity and respect, because everyone counts. Make decisions for the right reasons. Think about your values. Think about what you stand for. One of the first interview questions I ask when I interview anybody at Henry Ford is, what do you stand for? Who are you? And sometimes, people are kind of taken aback by that question. But it's very important because, in fact, it really drives how we make decisions. A budget is an ethical document. It shows what we care about, shows what we think is important. Very, very important. We also need to solve problems that people experience. Let's be practical about stuff. I love it when I get a problem that I actually can solve. There are so many, that come to me and, big problems, health reform and, not enough payment and, all kinds of issues that we can't solve. But occasionally, you get some that you can solve quickly, do it. Do it now. Try to solve those problems that people experience. I hear from employees every day, I hear from doctors every day, I hear from patients every day, and we try to solve problems every day and get back to people quickly, because that makes a difference. It shows we care about them, that we really want to help with whatever the issue is, and that fundamentally we want to make it better. Get to know our people. Most people who work every day are dealing with things in their own lives that are harder than things they deal with at work. We all go through various periods in our life with illness, with pressures, whether they're financial or kids or whatever it might be. But when we get to know one another, it allows us to be more flexible in working with people. It allows us to be understanding when things are going in a bad direction. I've watched people going through the worst periods in their lives and come to work every day and put their absolute heart and soul into it because they know we're there for them. They know we are supporting them through thick and thin. Very important, I think, lessons for us in life. And then, I think thinking differently about how to hire leaders is important. Take some risks on people. I did that with this gentleman. And some people here know who this guy is. His name is Gerard Van Grinsven, and he worked for the Ritz-Carlton hotel chain for many, many years. He was vice president of food and wine. He opened over 20 hotels across the world, and I had the privilege to hire him to open our brand new hospital in West Bloomfield, which was a huge risk for us, opening in the worst economic times possible. But this guy was hired for one reason: his leadership, the way he treated people, his service orientation, his thinking out of the box. He had new ideas for us, and people in healthcare couldn't see the ideas. We don't have the vision for those ideas because he wasn't in healthcare. And it helped us create something that we believe is truly extraordinary. And he changed the entire food culture of our organization. We got rid of fryers and freezers. Everything's fresh. How nice that is for our patients and our staff. And also helps our health, so we can get healthier and hopefully live longer. So hiring differently, thinking about who we hire. And finally, I think one of the quotes that I just love is Maya Angelou, who I think describes it so perfectly when she has said that, it's not about what we say or do. It's about how we make people feel. And when we can create an environment as leaders where people are feeling good about their work, about their colleagues, about their contributions, about the opportunity to grow and develop, we can create a better world. Thank you very much.